Good morning or afternoon or evening, whenever you are moving today. Welcome back or welcome to Living Lightly. My name is Jillian and this is our final video in our prenatal series. Of course, you can come back to this video at any time during your pregnancy, but this video specifically is going to be giving you some options for when you're actually going into labor, just some poses, some stretches that can help support the body, your breath, and engage baby, maybe give you a little peace of mind. But I want to encourage you to practice these poses. You don't have to wait until you're actually in labor and delivery to do this. I highly recommend doing this beforehand so that you can get your body used to being in these poses, in these stretches. I'm going to give you some options for, you'll see I'm in a chair right here. I'm going to give you some options on your mat, in a chair, if you have a ball, or if you have an epidural, or you just need to rest and you want to do some of these poses on your side, laying in bed. I'm going to give some options for that with some pillows. So I'm going to encourage you, again, come back to this video at any time, maybe even during your labor and delivery, but I hope that this is encouraging to you and this just gives you a sense of peace and empowerment while you get ready to deliver your baby. So hop into something comfortable, grab any props that you want to practice with, and let's get started. All right, so to begin our labor and delivery flow, again, you can do this at any point during your pregnancy. This is super beneficial to just help our body get used to these positions. So I recommend doing these before you're actually in labor and delivery, but these certain poses and positions can be beneficial for helping to engage our baby. We're going to start actually in a comfortable seat, so just how we started most of our flows here. We're going to practice that grounding, that connection. You can do this again on pillows, on a chair, maybe do this on blocks or your mat. But we know that during labor and delivery, sometimes our labor can stall if we do not feel safe and grounded. So we're going to practice that here, noticing that sensation, how that feels now before we're actually in that moment. So if you feel comfortable, maybe you soften your gaze or you close your eyes here. And notice your breath. We know that during labor and delivery, our breath control can be so beneficial for helping to calm the body down, to help the body feel grounded and safe. We're going to think about that 360 breath, that diaphragmatic breathing here. Sending your breath all the way around, even to your lower back. And seeing if we can lengthen our exhale here. That's what's going to help activate what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. It's a part of the nervous system that's responsible for helping to calm us down. I always like to encourage you, even if you're not in labor or delivery, doing this diaphragmatic breathing, maybe you turn this into what's called a breath prayer. So maybe in labor, it looks like, Lord, on your inhale, on your exhale, help me through this moment. God, strengthen me where I need strengthening. You are good. You can help me in this moment. So maybe that's something that you practice even here in your day-to-day or in labor. Seeing if you can soften your jaw, soften your facial muscles here. There's been a link in tension in the jaw and the facial muscles and the shoulders. When those muscles are tense, sometimes that can stall our labor here. So see if you can just gently soften the muscles of the face, the muscles of the jaw, the shoulders here. Notice how that feels. And I'd like to read just a few verses over us. Maybe you use these during your own labor, or maybe you just listen to them here. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Isaiah 40, verse 29. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. He is there with you in it all. He will strengthen you. He can see you through. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it isn't good. And just because it's good doesn't mean it's not hard. We can put our trust and our faith in Him. We'll take one more deep breath in here. Exhale it out. So even just a small breath practice like that, even just for 5 minutes a day, can help you for when that moment comes, in that time where it can be stressful. There can be a lot of fear, emotions. Practicing it now can help you in that moment to remember, oh, here's how I slow my breath down. Here's how I bring that sense of calm. I can pray through contractions. I can breathe through this. I can remind myself that God is with me, that He will bring me strength. So I want to encourage you to just practice that breathing. Maybe you utilize it during your own labor and delivery. But now we're going to kind of go into a few poses that can help engage our baby when we're at kind of the beginning of labor. So we're going to think about the pelvic bones here. We want to see if we can open up our what's called the pelvic inlet to help engage the baby to come down into the pelvis. In order to open up the top of the pelvis, we want to think about having an external rotation through the hips. So I'm going to show you a few options. Since I'm already on my mat, I'll show you one here. It's just coming to a butterfly position, or what's called a bound angle position or pose. You can do this on blocks or your pillows, or you can do this on a mat here, but we're going to bring the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to fall side to side. So I'm opening up my hips. I'm getting this external rotation through my hips. Now some people like to maybe rock back and forth. Again, that's just opening up the top of the pelvis here. Again, maybe take those deep breaths, diaphragmatic breathing here. Helping again to bring that sense of calm through the body as you're in labor. Helping to activate the parasympathetic nervous system here. Good. I'll take one more deep breath in. Exhale it out. Now another pose that can be really beneficial at the beginning of labor is a squatting position. So I'm going to show you options on a chair. If you have a ball, you can also do that. You can also do this on the mat with the support of somebody else or your chair or a ball here. But coming into a squat in a chair, we'll do that same thing. We're going to think about that external rotation through the hips. So we're going to take the knees out nice and wide. Some people like to bring hands onto their knees and you can kind of rock back and forth. If you're on a ball, you can draw big circles with the pelvis, or maybe you draw figure eights here. Again, we think about opening up through the top of the hips. So this is a supported squat position. Another option that you can do is to come onto the floor here, but hold onto that chair, to a support person, to a ball. Lower the hips down. Again, take the knees out wide. Sometimes we have the tendency to let the knees kind of cave in. But for the beginning of labor, we want to take that nice wide angle. Heels do not have to touch the ground. Maybe this is where you utilize blocks under you or pillows, or maybe come up out of this squat. Again, if you don't have a ball or chair or anything to support you here, you can always use hands on the knees. Again, sometimes it feels good to kind of rock back and forth, open up the pelvis side to side. Now you want to think about having a neutral spine here. So we want to make sure that in the squat we're not overarching through the back, but when we think about that pelvic inlet, when we bring it to a neutral position here. So I'm not tucking my tailbone under. I'm just trying to find that nice long line from the crown of my head down to my tailbone. So this is another option in that squat. Again, maybe you rock back and forth. Another option to open the pelvic inlet is coming into a child's pose. You can do this on a ball or on the mat. We'll bring the big toes together, step your knees out a little wider than your hips, and send your hips down. Again, we want to try to keep that neutral spine. We're not overarching the back here. We're not rounding that tailbone down. And you can rock back and forth. If you want to do this on the floor, if that feels better for you, same thing. We'll bring the big toes together, knees wide, and send the hips down. Maybe you rock back and forth. And again, we're practicing that 360 breath, diaphragmatic breathing. Now I'd like to give you one more option. Say if you are needing more of a restful position, if you're tired already and you want to do something to help open up the top of the pelvis while you're laying down, or if you've had an epidural, this is another great option for you to help open up the pelvis, but it's more supported. You can use blocks or pillows here. I just have a few pillows from my bed. You can fold up any of the pillows or ask for more pillows from the hospital if you're delivering in a hospital bed. Some people use what's called a peanut ball. It has kind of a big peanut shape, a little dip down in the center. So use what you have here. So what this might look like, you can come onto your side and bring your pillows between your knees. I'm going to lay it all the way down here. It's a little more restorative here. So you can think about bringing the ankles towards each other so that we're opening up through the top of the pelvis. Again, we're getting that external rotation through the hips. And then just practice that diaphragmatic breathing here. Again, if that's not enough openness here, you can fold your pillows over, really open up, get that external rotation. And then just breathe through here. So that's another option if you need a little more support, if you need to rest in that beginning of labor. So when the baby has engaged a little bit, when they're starting to come down through the pelvis, they start to kind of move, rotate around. And to make more space in the pelvis, we want to find some what's called asymmetrical poses. So we want to kind of rock back and forth. There's a little bit of movement through what's called the sacrum, kind of that back portion of your pelvis. It can kind of move around. So we're going to see if we can find some asymmetrical movement to help engage baby, get them down a little bit further. So some of those movements might look like what's called a supported or a half warrior two. What this is going to look like, I'm going to come into a kneeling position. Again, you can always use a chair, a ball. If it feels better for you to have a ball out in front of you, you can. I'm going to take one knee out to the side. So I'm opening up through my pelvis. One hip is externally rotated. One is more of in a neutral or an internal rotation. And then you can just gently rock back and forth. I would recommend doing this for 3 of those deep diaphragmatic breaths, or maybe 5 contractions, really whatever feels best for you. But we want to make sure that we go on both sides. So I've got one hip externally rotated, one hip in a neutral position. And then after those contractions or those breaths, however you want to count, whatever feels best for you, maybe you take it to the other side. Again, we really want to connect with our body during this labor process. We want to be mindful of our breath, helping the nervous system to calm down, helping to engage baby, reminding ourselves that the Lord is going to strengthen us. Maybe practice that breath prayer. Again, Galatians 6:9, let us not become weary in doing good. This is a good thing. For at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. It can be hard sometimes during labor. You want to give up, but we know that there is good coming on the other side. So that's one pose, that's an asymmetrical pose that can help open up the pelvis. You can also do that on a ball. Again, maybe you have the ball out in front of you if that feels better for you to kind of lean into it. Maybe you do this in a chair or that ball, same thing. One leg externally rotated, one in a neutral position. You kind of lean into it. Do the same thing on the other side. You can also do a lunge position. Now, being in a lunge, I don't recommend necessarily being on a ball because it is kind of a balancing practice here. But if you're in a stable chair, you can always drop one knee down, kind of lean into it here. Or I find doing a lunge is a little easier to do in a kneeling position. Again, you can use a chair or a ball here, but I'm going to drop one knee down. One knee is out in front. Now, depending on, again, how big your belly is, how big baby is, we might need to step that knee out a little wider, but you can rock back and forth, opening up through the pelvis here. You're doing it for 3 to 5 breaths or 3 to 5 contractions on one side and then the other. Again, we're helping to kind of move baby down into the pelvis, all while practicing those deep breaths. Okay, so that's another option. Another pose or position that can really help kind of create some asymmetrical movement is kind of come to, I like to call it like a half child's pose. So I'm going to utilize my chair here. Again, you can use a support person, a ball, you can keep your hands on the floor. But I'm going to extend one leg out to the side, coming into kind of a tabletop position, or you can kind of come into that, again, I call it like a half child's pose. So if it feels good for you, those toes can face forward, or you can externally rotate the toes to face the ceiling. And I'm just rocking back and forth. Again, it might feel better for you to bring your hands up, find that neutral position through the spine, rocking back and forth. Again, doing a few on one side, doing a few on the other side, really making that connection, finding what feels best for your body. Again, you can turn the toes forward or have that external rotation through that extended leg by turning the toes up to face the ceiling. And you can be lifted or come down. Again, this is a great stretch right now. For me, I'm currently not in labor, but it feels really good for my hips. So that's another option. And then an option that you can do, again, if you've had an epidural or you need just something that's a little more restful, you can grab those pillows again. You can come down on to one side. And what this is going to look like, I'm going to really fold my pillows over here. Coming down onto that side, I'm going to bring one knee up and extend my other leg out long. So one knee is lifted, one knee is up, and I can always use that other hand to just gently guide the knee, rock it back and forth. Again, if you have a ball, a peanut ball, some pillows, this is an option if you need to be in that restful position or if you've had an epidural. What you do on one side, do on the other side. Have someone help you roll to the other side here if you're able. So that's another option for the lying position, kind of when we're engaging the baby down more into the pelvis. Now, the third stage that we're going to do some poses is whenever we're actually delivering the baby. And what we want to do is create as much space possible in the lower portion of the pelvis. So our pelvis is kind of, if you think, kind of heart-shaped or bowl-shaped here. At the beginning of labor, we want a nice wide angle at the top. Middle of labor, we want to kind of work baby down. That's where we find that asymmetrical movement. And then when we're getting ready to deliver baby, we want to make that pelvic outlet as wide as possible to make room for baby as well. So we want to think about our sit bones. If you can sit down, you'll notice those kind of bony parts at the bottom. We want to see if we can open them up. In order to do that, we're going to do kind of the opposite of what we did at the beginning. So instead of drawing the knees out wide, we're going to think about having a slight inward rotation of the knees, of the hips. So if you think about it, out wide, I'm really opening up to the pelvis. If I bring my knees in, then those sit bones gently pull apart here. There's more room for baby. So you can, again, do this in a chair or on a ball. Maybe lean forward, draw the knees towards each other here. Maybe, again, if it feels good for you to lean forward, sometimes that can create a little more space for the baby here in that movement. Maybe you rock back and forth. Another great option, sometimes that cannot feel super great for people if you don't have any support out in front of you. That's where you can bring that ball in. You can come down onto a mat and support yourself with a chair or with your support person here out in front of you, gently supporting your upper body or a ball here. Again, I'm going to bring my knees towards each other. These do not have to be close together if that doesn't feel great for you. Just think about angling the knees in, so we get that internal rotation of the hip. Even right here, I can feel those sit bones gently spreading. If you want to create even more space, you can lean back. So it's a little variation of a child's pose. You can, again, keep the torso elevated or drop down into an all fours position. Good breathing here. Then you can rock back and forth, find what feels good for you. Another option that can be great for when you're trying to push baby or trying to open up that pelvic outlet is actually a squat. Now, I know that's one of the ones that we did at the beginning to open up our pelvic inlet, but we can also utilize that to open up our pelvic outlet. So what that would look like, I'm going to come into that low squat position. I'm going to think about turning my knees in slightly. So at the beginning, we really focus in on opening up, taking the knees out. We're going to think about drawing the knees in a little bit. Maybe you really lean forward. Rest your torso on a ball, on your support person, on your chair. Just gently rock back and forth. Again, all while think about breathing your baby out. Sometimes providers will recommend what's called purple pushing, where you hold your breath and you bear down. And if that is what you would like to do, of course, it is your birth, your labor, delivery, you do that. But sometimes it can help us to think about breathing the baby out. Sometimes that can help with our overall pelvic floor health and any risks of any injury to our body. I think you can imagine what I'm talking about. So think about breathing the baby out here. Sometimes that can help. Again, just bring that parasympathetic nervous system on, help us to relax even in labor. Another position that you can do is in that side lying position. So even here, if you are not able to utilize gravity to lift up, or if you just need to rest through it, I get it. My baby was delivered at my first baby was delivered at 1:30 in the morning, and I was tired. So what I chose to do is you can have someone help you in this, but we're going to think about kind of lying down again how we have been. This time we're going to think about opening up the pelvic outlet. So I'm going to draw my knees in and have that foot elevated. You can hold on to your own foot. You can have someone support your ankle here. Maybe you draw the knees up closer to the chest. That can help open up even more. You can stack another pillow just to help support and open up the ankle here. And you can breathe and push here if you would like, opening up through the pelvic outlet. So that's another option during that final stage of labor, whenever you are getting ready. Again, I want to encourage you to practice these poses, practice these movements before you're actually ready for labor and delivery. It can be beneficial throughout your whole pregnancy and help get your body used to being in those positions and breathing through those positions before it comes time to actually deliver your baby. So I want to practice our breathing one more time. So I would encourage you to come into a comfortable position. Maybe you would like to come down into a more restful position, coming down onto your side, or maybe you're in a chair, or maybe you just come and have a seat. But we're going to think about that spinal alignment even here, having that neutral position in our pelvis. If you feel comfortable, you can soften your gaze or close your eyes. Remembering that our breath can help calm the body down. Seeing if we can relax our facial muscles, our jaw, our shoulders. There are theories that when our jaw is relaxed, there's a connection to our pelvic floor. See if you can relax the muscles of the throat here. Another technique that you can use is to gently open up the mouth and breathe like you're trying to fog up a mirror. Slowing our breath down. connecting to our breath, to our body, to our baby. Maybe practice that breath prayer. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. You can do this. I know it's hard, but just because something's hard doesn't mean it isn't good. And just because something's good doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. But God has good plans for you. He's with you. He will strengthen you. Just like Isaiah 40 verse 29 says, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. He sees you. He cares for you. He loves you, even in the midst of the hard times of labor. He wants what's best for you, for your child. He loves you and your child. He will strengthen you. So Lord, I thank you for this day and this time. God, I just want to pray for each and every woman that is watching and participating. Lord, calm any anxiety or fear that she may have surrounding labor and birth. Give her your peace, your hope. Remind her that you are there. Comfort her in the midst of pain, in the midst of when she's tired, when she wants to give up. God, strengthen her. God, we thank you for our baby. We know that you have good plans for us, good plans for our children. God, we know that motherhood and pregnancy, it's hard, but it's also so rewarding. So Lord, I ask that you would help us to remember that in the moments of hard, in birth and delivery, in motherhood, that it is a gift. Lord, bring us joy in the midst of it. Give us peace. And I thank you again for this time and this day and every person watching and participating. And it's in your name I pray. Amen. So if you are in that lying down position, you can gently press yourself up into a seated position here. Taking a moment, letting the blood flow back down. Taking a few breaths. We'll take one more deep breath in. Maybe you reach the arms up overhead. And on your exhale, bring your hands down together at your heart. Shalom. Thank you so much for joining me in this series. I hope that you have enjoyed this series, and I hope that you feel more confident coming into your pregnancy, your motherhood, your birth and delivery. Thank you again for joining me. Feel free to go back to any and all of our videos during your pregnancy or postpartum. Hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, remember to keep living lightly.